child has learned over time, and how do you provide needed support for that child to scale. Then there are about 3.5 years average interrupted education per displaced child. So imagine a child that is moving from one place to the other, have to spend a moment in one IDP and is moved to another IDP. There are lots of disruption in their learning stage. And then, like the AI facilitator talked about, this AI tool, the Ed Boots, you see that there are issues around languages. So you have Hausa, Kanuri, Fufude, English. These are conflicting languages because these people, most of them do not speak English. So I was excited when they say the solution they're providing will be able to provide language, solutions. And then 89% of IDP families earn not less than 50,000 naira monthly. And we already know that the economy doesn't support that. So if you go to market now, like I went yesterday, I sent a colleague of mine to go yesterday, a small basket of tomatoes about 25,000. So if we already have food crisis, in the IDP, and if they have to fend for themselves from what they're trying to earn, and they still have the children go to school, that's not going to be very sustainable. And most of these families have 5 children, have 6 children, maybe a family of 10 sometimes, that have the issues that are arising from even the solutions that are available. You see that we have issues around short-term funding, which of course is even a more global issues in terms of funding. Is not adopting those solutions and making it a budgetary, emergency and priority. That's the word, budgetary priority to include these solutions in the annual budget. Then you also see emergency focus with weak sustainability planning. There's a lot of low planning when it comes to humanitarian limitations in the IDP. Then there's a donor fatigue, like I just mentioned, repeated funding gaps. So donor fatigue simply means that I'm a donor, I'm for instance UNICEF, and I've been funding this work for say maybe 10 years or 5 years, and over a period, I see that I'm not getting tangible. So because donor funding is not just about grants, it's not about free money. And there's one of my article that I said that grants is not free money because there are results that has to back up the justifications that you have to submit to your donor to keep giving you money. But when you look at generally the donor trends, it's not just in IDP, you look at donor trends, you see that donor fatigue comes up always because I believe that if I put in $35 million into IDP work, I should tangibly in the next 5 years see a reduction, like Dr. said, a reduction in the number of IDP that are stranded and can or will not be able to access basic social amenities. So then government challenges is the overstressed public education system. You can agree with me that none of us will be very happy in this room to put our children in government school. I don't know if you have your children in government school. So you can see overstretched public education system that limited specialization, meaning that the solution to IDP is not just supposed to be housed by the humanitarian ministry. Interconnecting ministries are supposed to coordinate and provide one holistic solution to reduce the number of out of school children or the educational crisis we have across our IDP camps. Then there's also infrastructure deficit in host community. Host community means those communities that houses this IDP, the displaced persons and refugees. So there are no facilities for them. They do not have free water, safe water, and they do not have enough health services. I don't know how many of you went to primary health care in the last 1 year. I can attest to that. I cannot cross them. But even when you go to the public hospitals, I don't know one of gone to Gariki the last few months. Gariki used to be, the stop point for some of us because it could provide is a public-private entity. So government has some components of shares and then a private entity. But if you go now, they are still good. They are one of the best when it comes to public-private services. But you see that the crowd is a lot. And so people have to spend like 3 hours to be able to access healthcare. That is enough to, discourage you from going there. So imagine having that in host communities where you don't even have good facilities. You're not sure that when there's no lights, you can access electricity. Now we've had issues around people that have to give birth or doctors that have to do operations with torchlights. Those are the kind of things that you see when you go to the field, and we do a lot of this work, and it's really really heartbreaking. I've practically had to lead campaigns that I've seen a woman give birth on the road in this country. In this country. So you see, these are why some of our current responses fall short. Inadequate health services, inadequate educational facilities, unlinked curriculums, lack of funding, lack of government priorities, to these issues. Now, what are durable solutions framework? One of it is local integration. I personally believe that we can solve our problem locally. As much as we look at global context, we look at international best practices, we must not, do a full cultivation of these solutions to our country because it's not sustainable. Nigeria is a large country. We are big, 250 million. And for us, it's an advantage rather than a disadvantage. The only problem there is that the limited, it's not limited funding, I think limited lack of interest from the government to ensure that locally generated revenues work for the people. So even with the Tinubu administration, when the local government autonomy was passed, you see that most people were rejoicing. But how many of you know what your budget says? How many of you from your local government can tell us that you can click your phone and see what your budget looks like at your local government area? You understand? So beyond us looking at Tinubu and looking at the federal solutions, sustainable development starts locally and must be driven and promoted locally. Meaning that if we have solutions that must be built inside out, the host communities must be able to utilize the IDP to their advantage. I think that's the word. Utilize the IDP numbers to their advantage. Meaning that I have an extra 200 people coming into my community. What solution, what contribution can they bring to the community that will internally generate resources to sustain their well-being? And I feel that's the word, and that's the angle that even the NGO sector is moving into now. We are not entirely dependent, like in my organization that I lead. They are gradually moving away from full dependency on donor funding because it's not sustainable. How do we grow our solutions locally, generate the money, and ensure that it feeds back to the system and to the people? Then 67% of IDP prefer integration. They prefer to be part of the community. There are risks in it. There are security risks in it. There are issues of shortages like I talked about. But then I said a more holistic, comprehensive, locally driven solution would cater for this. Then inclusive education for displaced people and host children. Then voluntary return. Some people want to go. When you go to IDP camps, it's very difficult. Even when affected areas are settled in, the peace and return is also a problem because sometimes the people don't want to return. Sometimes the community don't also want to release them. I think that's the word. And then there are no structure as to reintegration back into their community. So that needs to be fixed. Then about 1.2 million have already returned to the northeast. That's what we got from the data we did research about. And then these schools, most of the schools need to be rebuilt. To be honest, Nigerian problem is, I used to say it's multi-sectorial and multi-dimensional. And there is no one size fits all. That's the truth. We must come to a terms where we understand that, look, to solve this problem, there need to be a lot of intentionality. Intentionality, both in terms of policies, in terms of coordination, and in terms of private sector innovation. You know why private sector is important? Because private sector has better structure. If you're working in the government, you can work in any time. I don't know how many government agencies have a way of signing up their staff and know who is in and out. But you see, a private entity, has a more structured processes and people feel more accountable. And the culture of behavioral change has to come in. For Nigeria to begin to think that yes, it's our country, now we they give this work to and all whatnot. But then for us to actually be patriotic, we need to change the way we think and the way we do things. that's why it's important for private sector to come in, and then private sector people, because the levels of partnership that needs to be sealed, the levels of investment that needs to be made, most of this has to come from that angle that the likes of Dangote can say, I'm investing this amount of money. And it's important because if private sector is coming in, government will have to put in check and have reporting to do. But if you see that it's grants, don't know, UNICEF dashing us money, we just feel that they are. But a private sector would definitely want to see that, look, I am making profit. So if I'm investing in IDP camp, I'm bringing technology to this 200 displaced persons. How does it feed back to my economy? You understand? So it ensures that there are market, locally driven market solutions that can be adopted, that can be scaled, and can also compete in the global market. Then I'm on slide, go 2 slides away from where you are. Yeah. So then for AI and tech human-centered learning for IDP children, to be honest with you, yes, the world is moving very, very, very quick. Yeah, I'm here, thank you. The world is moving very, very quick. But one thing that is really outstanding is the fact that as much as AI is driving global solutions now, we have to ask ourselves real questions. Is Nigeria ready for AI? Because the problem we are looking at is IDP. And who are the people that are displaced? They are the poor people. You will not say that a senator was displaced or his family was displaced. And you will not say that even Mikwama are displaced. Or you will not hear that if someone working in federal civil service, for instance, is displaced. It's the poor of the poorest that are mostly affected by this crisis. And then when you do a sample analysis and a need assessment, you see that most of them, their educational level is still very low. And that's why the gaming structure will work better than just instituting curriculum into AI. You understand? It will help them to learn easily. So when we are looking at human-centered learning for IDP, key application, like I said, rapid assessment needs to be done to continuously map how fast these systems has to adjust to the level are. Then adaptive learning, it shouldn't be something that is designed, it has to be something that can be flexible. There needs to be flexibility in the adaptive learning curriculum that will be developed. Then also we look at secure verifiable records that has to be adopted. Security has to come in terms of what information do these people have to give about where they are coming from, their personal details and all of it. Because there's no way you can assess, like this thing we just did now. We scan this QR code. If they tell you the back end that there's some professionals that can pick up your IP address from there and be able to hack your account, you won't believe it. So there are a lot of dangers that comes with these things that we must intentionally look at. 1 minute, I think my internet went. Okay, please go right. I'm done with this slide. Yeah. No. Yeah, so policy framework. When we look at policy framework, for most of this adapted learning, that AI learning that has to happen, at the federal level, most action needs to come from there. We need to have like a public-private legal framework, public-private partnership legal framework that clearly aligns what the role of each party is. You understand? And it needs to be adopted as a policy to ensure that nobody is taking advantage of anybody. So clear rules to enable humanitarian development and private, but even with that, it cannot compete with the global market. So some of our technology that we are deploying has to be served or deployed on international servers. So when it comes to data and privacy issues, it becomes a really big problem for us. Because the data we are housing from the judiciary are criminal data. When I saw Oga Police and I said, am I safe? Are criminal data. So having to look at terrorism cases, having to look at pretrial detention cases, instituting digital tools for judges so that at the end of the day they're not writing. I went to a court one time and they just said, Madam, I did write. So in this age, you still go to a courtroom you see a judge writing. Now, one of the courts that have been digitized, they just told us that, look, the cases that are housed in my courtroom is equivalent to all the cases in Ekiti State. That's one. So when you're saying that the judiciary is not working, there are issues that are causing the judiciary not to work. That's the truth. That one man like you will have to sit on more than 30,000 cases, and then every day he has to manually be, having proceedings of 20 cases. My sister, that's a lot, or my brother, a lot of writing, a lot of back pain, a lot of health issues that they just have to go through, even if they are so passionate and committed. The best they can do is 8. To be honest with you, the best they can do is 8. And then that's not the problem. After they finish now, they should have to carry that in the roads, go and type it. I mean, go and manually type it and then adopted by both complainants and prosecutors and everybody, and then brought back to. So you see, when the case are adjourned 3 months, that's the reason. That's part of the reason. It's not because they are wicked. Part of the reason, because the other administrative processes that has to go through is not digitized. And that's the judiciary. So talk about IDP. And in this case, the government is not even trying to prioritize. Now we are blowing alarm and say, digitize the judiciary. It will reduce the workload. When you go to correctional centers or when you go to police, look out for files. You see files that, or you go to Ministry of Justice, you see files everywhere. That's evidence lying, but follow. And some of those things will be there. And the persons that defied his death has been in prison for more than 10 years, has not appeared before a judge. So you see the problem. And these are the issues we're talking about. We need policy framework that allows public-private partnership, because even with as much as our donors are supporting us to do, we need government to adopt this. We need private sectors to say, look, I'm going to invest some capital or some of my, yearly returns to this. You understand? Then at the state level, I also mentioned, please, this slide will be shared 0 or not. We can't do this in 20 minutes. Inclusive education plan. So integrate displaced learners with the host communities, teacher training. To be honest, we need to do that. I know that generally our educational system is an overhaul, because I don't know what we are teaching in our schools. Because it does not match the current problems and challenges of this country. When you say that you're mixing H2O, water, H and 2O, we will now be reading it. You read it, me like this, I read chemistry. As first degree, you read it, H2O. Then when you finish coming out, you didn't see H2O anywhere. You didn't see H2O anywhere. You see real life problem, So how do we ensure that our educational system is not just making people to graduate with certificates, not producing graduates that cannot get or compete in global market, cannot even get a job, cannot start a company, cannot, profess. I cannot even mix, in my life I cannot mix anything, but I read chemistry. I can't mix anything. So please, this type of conversation we need to bring up. Then there's also a component of trauma response, because these people who go through a lot, I don't even think they do that in the IDP camps. Trauma response. So imagine you sleep and you hear boom, 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 and your family is gone. Like what happened in Bedouin? The guy said all his family wiped out, and he was talking, and people thought that he was okay. It's a lie. That guy has locked out. He's not in this world again. And then you carry him to IDP, and you say you want to teach him AI. He will not hear you. He will not be going there left and going right. He's mentally destabilized. And so government needs to look at that component locally. How do we provide psychosocial response trauma systems for them? There's also the component of private sectors, donors, and so I'll just go to call to action. For us, call to action is government leaders, and I wish there were more government people here. To enact IDP education policy, like I've said, dedicated budget lines, very important. I doubt if we have anything on the budget line that's used to IDP. Now, if you look at education, or you look at humanitarian response, how much is allocated for responses that has to do with refugees? Look at it and mix it or compare it vis-a-vis the total budget size of Nigeria. You see where their priorities is. You are moving money into insecurity, but I doubt that even the amount of money we've been spending the last 8 years, that insecurity budget have been taking money more. You will go and check, the problem is increasing. Why? The problem will increase, not prophecy, it's not prayer. The problem is that people that have work, and idle man is the devil's workshop. So people that are committed, that finish school, come and sit down, cross leg, something will shall occupy. So if something does not occupy somebody's mind, you know, something will occupy their mind. So the solution is not investing money into guns. Investing money is ensuring that the country is economically solving the issues of people. That I can pick up money and go, even if it's to earn 30,000. In those days, my parents used to say, when you finish school, work is waiting for you. It's not happening now. And then look at like law school produces over 40,000 lawyers every year. Called over 40,000. How many jobs in Nigeria to do them? How many? Okay. Let me not make us scared more. Because when you do the kind of work we do, you see that look, prayer will not help us. So I don't know what else will help us. Prayer. I don't know, but God will help us. Say amen. So we have to invest in teachers training and infrastructure for inclusive class. That one is another case entirely and needs to be treated. I don't want to say much. I read education in my first degree. I know that teachers training in this country, if you go to some place, the teacher cannot even speak pidgin. And then, okay, if you are saying English, is it our own language? You know, let's not talk about it. Private sector invest in ed-tech, skill training, and off-grid solution. Off-grid because it's important. There's no light anywhere, so we need solar. Then offer job internship, marketing training for displaced youths. You know, I feel that integration has to do with, you know, selecting what skill these displaced people are, then place them side by side in companies for them to give in their time. Then, like I said earlier, commit to multi-year partnership and shared technical capacity. Then for us, as humanitarian actors, you know, shift from short-term emergency to integrated development planning. Then advocate for, well, we'll keep advocating for flexible, multiple-year funding, and then access to data, social support, and welfare support to these IDP people. With this viewpoint of mine, I hope I'll be able to convince you and not to confuse you that IDP issues are beyond us, but then with these few steps, we can do more. Thank you very much.
I hope with these few points of mine, I've been able to convince you and not confuse you. Please, can you give a round of applause? Thank you very, very, very much. Well, people that study chemistry can't mix anything. So, she's a very senior chemist. So, but today she's into development. Her voice is louder in the development world than in chemistry. And I've been telling her to be shattered. When she's shattered, she will begin to learn how to mix things and maybe mix chemistry with development policies. Well, that said, I think I want to believe the message is becoming clearer and clearer. The focus is becoming very, very unequivocal, and as such, can we give the CEO of Public-Private Development Center, Mrs. Lucy James Abagi, another round of applause for that excellent presentation. Well, she said she's very close to me. We share a whole lot, and growing up together with people like this has always inspired me to become a better me. And I want to thank her for finding time to be here. Thank you very much. The coalition will appreciate you for being here, as well as all our guests. Before we go to the presentation, because we are just like 2 minutes above the time, before we go into the presentations of the certificate to all the speakers, and that, please, can you, Madam Lucy, please, just one thing before you go, please. One thing. Yes, you can sit down. Just one thing. I crave the indulgence of the representative of the IGP And thank you very much, sir. You've shown a sense of humility despite your schedule. So just in the next room, we'll do the presentation. We're rounding up. Your presence, we are going to have a group photograph so that will form part of your report. So thank you. Please, can you give the rep of the IGP a round of applause? Excellent, ma'am. Excellent, ma'am. Now, few questions, and to moderate this, I want to call on. Okay, let's just have a few questions. Maybe you have any question in any of the paper presented. Can we have that? Few questions anywhere now that the presenters are here. Anyone? If you have any question. Oh, you are a good student. Please, okay, we have one hand. All right. Two, all right. Please, can we have a microphone? Three, quickly. Your question does not need introduction. Okay, you can introduce yourself but not introduce the question. Don't introduce the question, just the question and your name and organization. Please pass the mic. Let's start from the lady because they say ladies first, right? Quickly, sir. Give her the microphone. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. 1 minute. Each question is 1 minute, please. All right, thank you. Your name, organization, and question. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone.
All right, have this.
Good afternoon. My name is Mrs. Helen. So my question goes directly to Mrs. Lucy, if I'm correct with her name. The first question I want to ask is, what are the factors that ignite the donors' fatigue and withdrawal? That's one. How can we use AI? How can we use AI to bring IDP counts into, to reduce the increase rather? How can we use AI to do that? Then the IDP victims, I can say from what you have discussed so far, some of them will be reluctant to leave the camp. What efforts are we, or can we use, what process can be adopted into making those that can stand on their feet to leave the camp? Because I feel that most of them might be relaxed because of the things they get. And then talking about the educations, I know the people that are on that or in the IDP camps have different levels of mentalities. How do you intend to use AI or other method to differentiate them in order to give each person what he or she requires at every given moment? Thank you.
Okay, they've noted it. Please, next question. Okay.
Let me say very big thank you for this very elucidating conference. I'm coming from the standpoint of the young man who spoke so well about AI, and I'm buying into what he said. The question is, how well can we adopt your model? Not only to educate the IDPs, I'm lifting it to the extent that we can even use it to educate the market women. Empowering people in the generality of the public goes a long way. Imagine the market women, if you can take them off 1 hour after they leave their normal duties. We can use this young man's model of the laboratory to upgrade knowledge and bring it down. So how well are you presently selling your model to government? If you are not, could we explore opportunities where your model will be of immense beneficial to this country? Thank you. My name is Engineer Kayode. I was in the UN, but I'm now privately engaged. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Comrade Ibrahim Martin Shiu. I'm the President of Society for Gender Equality, Educational Advancement and Struggle Against Educational Injustices. My question first goes to Prof, asking him if truly our satellites are working. To me, I have foreseen for a very long time that Satellite are not working. If they are truly working, the numerous attacks going in the northeast and other part of the country shouldn't have taken place because we're supposed to use that to curtail those attacks. That's one of the questions. Secondly, my question goes to Mr. Joseph. I've been championing quality education. I'm a gender advocate as well. I'm from the Northeast, precisely, and that is where we have so much challenges. I'm so much ashamed to see that our leaders are not fighting this terrorism. And the children, most of the IDPs are predominantly from the Northeast. It is not a good story to tell anywhere in the world. So, how can we, having that large turnout of IDPs, how can we partner as a group of advocates or change makers to create that app that is friendly to all those people in the Northeast and Nigeria at large? And then the third question is to my sister Lucy here. When you talk about the private-public partnership and what have you, you made mention that the civil societies are like, going down. Truly, that is what is happening. We can no longer run NGOs. The registration, the programs, what have you, it is a challenge. But I think, how do we think the group of civil coalition or other NGOs can come?
Presenting Development Initiative of West Africa. Our headquarters is in Mina, and we are the leading NGO that is coordinating the affairs of Niger IDP Response Coalition. So far, we have worked in different areas across education, entrepreneurship, it's with the IDPs. We are happy to be here to understand that there is coalition of human NGOs. We are happy to hear that there are our colleagues in other states and the nation doing things like this. My own question is this. We have our own method of data collection and our method of assessment and collection of records of the 100 students we are training. My question is, how do we come together and put in our data together so that I can maybe...
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. For your questions, now, like I mentioned before, for people to I want to cite a very quick example. Our Access to Justice project has to do with bringing people out of custodial centers. And we've seen in recent times that when you bring someone out, they go back and commit another crime, so that you take them back. Poverty is an underlying issue to some of the problems we have, because we cannot be sure of where to eat. So they are sure of that 2 square meal or whatever in the consider centers, and they go and do another small crime so that you push them back. These are the same issues I talked about. So if you're putting somebody in IDP and you want the person to reintegrate, and you want the person to go back, what am I going back to? If you want me to leave the community that I am, maybe I found a solution or found something I'm doing, I must see that where I came from is doing much better. Are we together? And that's where reintegration back to the host community, to their communities, is a problem. Not just saying it's safe now, you can go back. People that lost their properties, people that lost houses, lost families. So it will take a lot of investment for them to say that, look, that place I left is much better than where I find myself. But for me, if I was a chairman of a community and I had IDP in my community, I'll ensure that you don't go back. I'll make it home for you. I will ensure that you are making more money than you used to make, because money stops everything right. You can never imagine. Then AI needs to differentiate in terms of need assessment. My sister, need assessment in this country, let me tell you what the problem is. Even the budget, you don't need an assessment. You will just see that the ministry sits down and they bring the old budget and they just do last Calabar and choose something and put there. So you will see that you want to do, that's why you see the duplication of budget items. It is not because they want to do it, but need assessment is a lot of work to be done. Means that you need to visit the host community, you need to, have talks with different community governance structure that will map and identify the priority problem of the community. Because you can say, want to give them water, they already have water. the school, maybe they have a one comprehensive, you know, we still call it in Akwa Ibom, they come second. I have one community secondary school that are managing. And you want to give them healthcare. Healthcare, you don't come this structure, no facility. You understand? So need assessment is broad. And maybe they are budgetary strain, but it's important. If you want to know the kind of AI solution that fits them, yes, AI can help. But then there are other on the two challenges with adopting technology, to be honest with you. The other on the two, if we get it right manually, it's easier to transmit to AI. We kept both sides, manual solutions, keep running, and then technology is also running. And over a period of time, adaptation, behavioral change, capacity challenges with the users, because if it's deploying to all the IDPs, it will not be the one managing it. He has to train people within the IDP that are there to be able to use that technology. And that's going to take a lot of time. You understand? That will also take a lot of resources. So all this has to be factored in, and it's also very, very much long term. Now quickly talk about donor fatigue. Like I mentioned earlier, donor fatigue mostly comes from lack of results. Like upon money, key donors that used to form the humanitarian work in Nigeria, the last 2 years, have just stopped. Beyond Donald Trump doing drama, have stopped because they looked at, we put money into accountability and transparency, budget transparency, fiscal responsibility, stuff like that, public finance, and over the years, we've not still seen this thing work. I don't know if you understand. Yes, the grantee, maybe the NGO is reporting, but results are long term because there are a lot of conflicts of interest that you need to look at. There are lots of negotiations and lobby that you need to do. Like what we are doing at PPDC now, we have to lobby the government to adopt this technology. And most of the time, if you're not looking futuristic in your program planning, you see that they don't know initiatives and you deploy all those technology and you come back 2 years, you won't see anything. You won't see anything. It will be like they didn't do anything. So you're a donor, and the donor must come. They will come 2, 3, 4, 5 years to check sustainability. You understand? So it's the part of implementing grantees for them to design their plans in a way that it is sustainable, scalable. There is a lot of training that has to happen though. I'm just trying to rush the question. Sustainable, scalable, and can last 10 years at least. What we are doing at correctional centers, we are deploying hardware components and we are upgrading things so that anywhere you are, if there's like a prison outbreak, you can see how many inmates escaped and stuff like that. Now, other grantees have been funded to that same thing. When the money finished and the donor left, they went back to check the hardware, they were not there. They were not there. You understand? So it's in your place now to ensure that you design sustainable programs that you can beat your check after 10 years and go back. If not, your donor will not give you money. You understand? Your donor will not give you money. Just tick the box. That's what we call it. You tick the box. So that's what happens with donor fatigue. You will see the likes of Paris Fund and all those ones. The money, you cannot account for it. And to be honest, a lot of money has been invested into development work in Nigeria. If now you see it, you know we'll put your money there again. Because grant is like investment. There's an interest of the, and there's a reason why I'm putting money there. If after 10 years I come back and say that thing did not happen, where will I put my money there again? Are you fool? No? You now do what they call re-strategizing. You see, they go back to the table and begin to change the strategy and say, okay, what should we put our money in? And mostly now what we are talking about is locally driven solutions. Locally driven intervention. Less than 6 of them, but all of them are spent and they were millions of dollars. And some of that money is a loan from World Bank. And that's it. Those of what we are going to talk about now. World Bank, why is he giving us money when we are not able to report what we have done with the money he gave us before? Are we together? So these are the reasons why donor fatigues come in. So what donors will do is that don't keep their money, they will change strategy. They look at what better solutions will come. Sorry, we can keep talking about this and we're not finished. I think that's the last question. Someone talked about forum and partnership among themselves. My brother, talking about partnership with CSOs. See, the witchcraft that we have in this country is ourselves. let me say it now, no recording, is ourselves. Why? Because if you want to do partnership with CSOs come together, there's always a problem. And money is a spirit, sorry. When people come together, we can want to solve challenges, we want to solve problems, we want to ensure that IDP, you know, that reduce numbers. The minute money enter account, my brother will start speaking English. So you see, if you want to enter into partnership, it's very important that you have what we call a teaming agreement that aligns roles and responsibilities from the beginning of the partnership. If not, it becomes a problem when money lands. I had a partnership like that. When the guy was calling me this, when the money landed like this, we quarreled for 2 years. We quarreled for 2 years. It was later after 2 years that we reconciled on phone, not physical. So you see, the problem with CSO is that we do not have consolidated mission. Everybody has their interest. I'm sorry, I've been working in the system for more than 10 years. Everyone has their interest. And that's why the solution is not coming. It is not coming. Let me wrap up with this. The work we are doing, you know, that partner is doing that same work. Now, unfortunately, he created often the same solution with us, comes money from another donor. And I don't care who's doing what. What we said is, we cannot be building the same solution. If you are doing this, do this. I don't know if you understand. If you are doing this, do this. So if all of us have an interest to make judicial work or the social system to work, what have been fighting? Abi, you want to build software, let me bring hardware so that we use the system together. The problem. So you see, public-private partnership partnership consultants are very good, but then the truth is that human factors, human interest always comes in and spoils the bigger picture. But I wish you the best try to do that. Cross all your T's, dot all your I's, and I'll see you at the top. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please, can you give me a round of applause? It's as if she has answered all the questions, right? All right. Joseph, she has answered your question. All right. Because you need that. She will source for the distance, for the work. All right. Can you click that link? Because now we're about to go into the present.
One of the participants asked a very critical question. I think it's a little obvious, but I'll be very diplomatic in my response. The question was,